Good afternoon. This is Dr. Azar here on ShuraTV. Welcome to our health program. Again, Happy New Year. Today's the 25th of January. Here we are at the end of the first month of 2022. Hopefully, you've had a good month and everything is going well. I understand there's been a lot of upheaval with Omicron and travel restrictions and school restrictions and my own kids are still in online school and hopefully they'll be going back to school on Monday. That was a joint decision with the staff and principal and everybody at their schools because they had too many COVID infections. Again, with this COVID infection, of course, we encourage everybody, sounding like a broken record, to maintain your social distancing and get your vaccines and get your boosters if you haven't. By far, people that are getting hospitalized in severe disease are obviously mostly the unvaccinated. You're 44 times more likely to catch it and to be in a severe situation if you're unvaccinated. So please, it's a virus. The solution is to get vaccinated or stay home and don't do anything and don't participate in life. Get your vaccines, get your boosters. Today, we were wanting to talk a little about uh, conditions like insulin resistance and diabetes. The reason why we're talking about these subjects is because a lot of people in the new year they have resolutions and they want to lose weight and they want to make sure that they lose weight successfully, and it's important for them, and it's something that we want them to be successful at. But some people overlook some basic things that are prevalent and that typical doctors won't look for. And one of the main things is insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is when the body's cells become resistant to the insulin working. So typically, when your body, you have a meal, your sugar goes high, your pancreas will produce insulin in response to that to process that sugar and get it out of the stream and get it into the cell for consumption, for carbohydrate consumption. But with insulin resistance, this does not happen. And what happens is you get a increased amount of insulin in the bloodstream and in the body. And this in turn affects hormones and affects fat metabolism, affects a whole host of uh, problems. Okay, so it's sort of like a positive feedback system. Once the insulin resistance is there, um, you know, you have increased carbohydrate cravings. You have chronic carbohydrate consumption, sweets, fats. These things in turn make the blood glucose go up, your blood sugars go high. The pancreas, in response, secretes more insulin, and the cells are resisting insulin. They're blocked, and the cells aren't producing energy like they're supposed to. So you feel fatigued, tired, and more insulin is produced because your cells are feeling fatigued and tired. They need sugar to go into them. Sugar is not going into them. The body, the brain says, "Oh, we must be hungry," so they take more. More insulin is produced, and from this, as a result of this, you get more inflammation in the body, and your inflammatory markers go really high. And people that have this condition, and then from that increased inflammatory situation, you get more carb cravings. You're craving more sweets, more carbs, and things that aren't good for you. So it's a vicious cycle. And before you start a weight loss program, you want to make sure that you're not insulin resistant. There are estimates and papers that state that approximately 70% plus of the population will be insulin resistant because of the type of lifestyle that we have and the type of foods that we eat and obesity in general. 60% of the people in the US are obese, and obesity is a cause of insulin resistance because your fat stores are very high. And when the fat stores are high, they block those cellular mechanisms that exchange and take take up the insulin inside the cell. So this is an issue that's very important, especially if you want to uh, uh, be successful at weight loss. It's very important. Um, and weight loss. There are many fad diets. There's many type of things out there, but the weight loss we'll discuss in a few minutes. But we'll discuss the two things that are solutions for this insulin resistance. So that's a little bit about insulin resistance, and I think when you're with your doctor, instead of just testing for the diabetes and the sugar, you want them to do a insulin test to see what your insulin levels are after you consume food. Normally, the doctor will just order for you a sugar level, but if you can ask them, say, I want to check my insulin level. For the sugar level, they'll check your HB1AC, which is was a 3-month picture of the glucose levels in your body, but that's not enough to determine insulin resistance. It would be very wise to ask your primary care to please test my insulin and check if my insulin's okay. Some basic things that you'll see with insulin resistance are a lot of fat deposits in the body. You'll see discoloration on the skin. You'll see an overgrowth of um, what we call skin tags in certain areas around the neck, around the torso, around the armpits, around the belly, under the breasts and the chest. So you'll see all these little signs and discoloration around the eyes, and then you'll have general fatigue. You're always hungry. You're not getting full even when you eat. You're always craving more. So these are all telltale signs and symptoms of insulin resistance. And then, of course, to confirm it, your doctor should test your insulin levels and see what the numbers are. And once you determine that, then you can get on a program which will address the spikes in insulin. Because what you want to do, ideally, is have your body in a homeostatic space or a place with the insulin. So you don't want it to be too high or too low, and you want it to be secreted in the appropriate times. It's very important. You don't want insulin spikes. That's what you want to avoid. But with chronically having junk food available and corporations cooking our foods for us, they don't care about that. They have a lot of different sugars in the foods and in the junk food, a lot of quick burning carbohydrates. These unfortunately cause quick spikes in insulin, and eventually they cause the insulin resistance as well, and fat storage in the body. So these are the things that we need to kind of consider before getting into a diet, because if we want that diet to be successful and we don't want to, become the yo-yo dieters that we hear about in the statistics, it's important to get to the base of the issue, because insulin also affects in men testosterone levels. It drops testosterone levels. In females, you have hair growth. You have what's known as polycystic ovary syndrome. You have abnormal menses, and you have also inflammatory menses, where it's very painful. It's very painful, and this can be a cause related to insulin resistance as well, and of course infertility. So, if you're a young person and you have these issues now, it might be a good idea to try to get your um, sugar levels, insulin levels, all in a balanced place so that you can have a healthy life moving forward. That's very important. And for young people, of course, the best thing is to avoid the junk foods, have wholesome, real foods, and we'll discuss what type of foods in a few moments, and the solution for these types of insulin resistance issues. And then, of course, you have diabetes, right? Diabetes is there. It's very common, and with diabetes, it is, now very prevalent in the U.S., also in the Middle East. It's because of a sedentary lifestyle. You have type 1 where the pancreas doesn't produce insulin itself. So there's cellular issues with the pancreatic cells that produce insulin. And then you also have type 2, um, you know, um, the insulin cannot be processed. The pancreas produces insulin, but it can't be processed. So you get diabetes type 2, which is very prevalent among middle-aged and seniors and obese people. They're mostly pre-diabetic. So typically your body needs that insulin to transform the glucose into energy. And when you have insulin resistance and you have a plethora of carbohydrates that are coming from junk food and they're spiking up your insulin levels, that whole mechanism of balancing that insulin glucose levels in the cell, and then the cell in return doesn't produce enough energy from the mitochondria, the function isn't there, then you have diabetes type 2. Okay. And then, of course, there's a type of diabetes that's only present in pregnancy, which is called gestational diabetes, right? Insulin is less effective in getting that glucose into the cell during pregnancy. So they call that a temporary gestational diabetes. It's due to the pregnancy. So those are the types of diabetes. And of course, with diabetes, the most important thing is to have a stable diet. And if your levels are checked, your HB1AC, as I discussed earlier, if it's checked and it's above, 5.6 or 5.7, then you have to try to get it lowered. And there's the first 3 months, your personal doctor might recommend lifestyle change, food change the type of foods that you eat, and have more wholesome fats, have more real foods, not processed oils, hyper trans fats. You don't want to have that saturated fats, all that. You want to avoid. You want to have a low glycemic index, foods that are low in glycemic indexes. So these things you can look up, or we can provide for you and give you information on these types of foods that you have to stay on. And the whole idea is to have, your 3 or 4 square meals a day, but you have it at a time where you don't let your body fluctuate too much in terms of its glucose levels. You don't want to starve yourself where your body's thinking that it has to store fat, and you don't want to overdo it with junk food and have a hyper insulinemia, which is insulin in the blood. That too causes dysfunction. So that's what basically we want to stay away from. And of course, if you have these conditions happening and you have a lot of thirst and you're going to the bathroom a lot and you have these symptoms, then you want to get checked out for diabetes as well. Because, or if it runs in the family, you have family that has had it, your parents, aunt, uncle, older brother or sister or someone, then you want to make sure that you protect yourself from getting it. And there are things you can do so that you can have a normal lifestyle and disease-free, optimal, healthy lifestyle. So those are the things that are the issues and the problems. Now, what are the solutions to these things? What do we do to combat this insulin spike in the body? What does the body need? What are some important things that we can do? Of course, there's 3 things that's very important for insulin resistance. If you do these 3 things regularly, then your insulin levels will normalize and the functionality will become good without medication. If you're at that level where you're just trying to change things with your own lifestyle. So the number one thing, of course, is exercise. Exercise independently promotes insulin transport into your cells. This is very important. Exercise independent of anything else promotes insulin getting into your cells and balancing that sugar out, and thus having the cells function in a proper way and create that energy from those cells. So this is very important. A regular exercise regimen It could be 20 to 30 minutes of walking daily or every other day. Even that will be very beneficial for you. So you could start with that. Number two, you can have a gym routine. You can have a proper workout with a personal trainer. It's just to get movement going. Your muscles need to move. If in order for your muscles and your cells to absorb that insulin into the body, into the cell, and to make it function, you need some energy expenditure. That's very important. Right now, living here in the US, we have excess caloric intake. Everything is in excess, whether it's the sugar, whether it's the foods, the carbohydrates, fats, all of it. It's all excess. So what we need to do is level that excess off. How do you level that off? Number one thing is exercise. If you exercise, that'll balance out your insulin levels. And the exercise could be as minimal as walking 30 minutes a day. If you can just do that 20 minutes a day, every other day, 3, 4 times a week, just walk and get your breath going a little bit and get your heartbeat a little faster. If you do that, that's awesome. The other thing you do is high intensity interval training, where people for 60 seconds they run and they do something very, very, very intense, and then they relax, and they do that in repetitive cycles. That is also good for insulin levels. So exercise is one. The other thing is all the white papers that I've read, fasting. Now it's a very good trend. People fast. They do the 10-4-4-6, or these are all hours that they remain hungry. So the easiest thing to do is, you eat at 7 p.m. Don't eat again all the way until 10-11 a.m. Don't eat anything. You can drink water, but you want to keep your body in that fasting state where your insulin is low. If your insulin is low, it's not spiking up, you're good. Your cells will function and they'll find their way. Then you eat at lunchtime. Then again, don't eat again for another 6 hours. Give your body that time. Don't keep on consistently snacking on things, increasing your insulin levels. Drinks, you guys have sweet drinks, coffee drinks, all these, Starbucks lifestyle, not good for insulin, not good for your sugar levels in your body. It fools your body in thinking that you're getting a meal now, and your body starts reacting to it. This is not good. It's better to just have your water and your clear drinks and unsweetened plain drinks, because you don't want the body to feel that way. That's very important. So fasting is good. Fasting is something where all the white papers say that it'll get a very good control of your diabetes as well as your insulin resistance. So exercise, number one. Number two, fasting, intermittent fasting. Those of you who are Muslim, you can fast Mondays and Thursdays regularly. This is great for your body. Not only is it spiritually good for you, but physically, you're giving the body a rest. You're giving all those cells a rest, and your insulin levels are stabilized. It's very good. And if you do this consistently over time, it has great benefits for your body, as well as it stimulates your own stem cells to function more efficiently, your own stem cells that are in your body. Your organs rejuvenate every 120, 140 days, all the cells. It's a cell cycle. And when you fast, the stem cells function much more better, and they're activated and stimulated. This research has been done at the University of Southern California. So these things are benefits of fasting, right? But fasting has many benefits, and those are some things that you can do that can help with that. And, it'll help with the weight loss. It'll help with digestion issues that you would have. These are all benefits of the fasting that you do, and it'll increase insulin sensitivity. And the other thing, it is aging. With the stem cell activation, you decrease your aging. So it's very good. Slow down aging, And of course, in these times where there's viral loads of COVID out there, you boost your immune system. Fasting boosts your immune system. Your growth hormone levels go up. You reduce inflammation. So all the things that insulin resistance does, fasting does the opposite, gives you the opposite. And then, of course, mentally, you increase your focus. So these are all the benefits of fasting. And whether you do it intermittently with liquids or whether you do it from on a religious aspect, do it. Get a routine and do it. It'll change your life. So that's very important to keep in mind. Again, exercise, fasting, and the third thing. What's the third thing? Of course, it's the elephant in the room. It's what we consume, what we eat. It's very important to keep that in mind, right? If you want to get rid of your insulin resistance and your diabetes, and you want your weight loss program to work, you have to pick a diet or a type of food that's going to be conducive to your body, and it's not going to be on either extreme. You don't want high fats, all carbs, keto, non-keto, paleo. There's tons of stuff, so it's important. So all the literature, if you read the literature and if you keep your do sort of like a survey of the literature of what are the best types of diets, the number one type of foods that you should be consuming if you have anything similar to diabetes or insulin resistance is the Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet is very simple. It's small amounts of meat. Um, you know, you don't want to consume too much meat, maybe 2-3 times a week, red meat. And then you have, of course, you have your egg, your cheese, your poultry, your yogurt, daily or weekly, not every day. Some people have eggs every day. And then, of course, you have fish, right? A few times per week. Mediterranean diet promotes fish. And then, of course, at the base, you have olive oil. Olive oil is very important. It's a very good oil to utilize in your salads, in your sandwiches, with your breads. And then, of course, um, olive oil you can have in variable amounts. And then, of course, you have to have daily servings of fruits and vegetables. Very important. Fruits and vegetables. That's basically the Mediterranean diet. Very simple. You can look it up. Um, the Mediterranean diet is the number one type of food system that you can consume that will help you with your insulin resistance, with your weight loss, as well as your diabetes. It's very important and it's simple and it's out there for you. If you just go to Google and Google Mediterranean diet components and just eat those types of foods in good portions, not crazy portions, in good portions, and you balance it out through the week. It's very important. And if you do that consistently, and if you do your fasting or intermittent fasting, and you do your daily exercise, you will definitely see your insulin resistance decrease, barring any other pathology. Discuss it with your personal doctor, discuss it with your trainer, discuss it with your clinical dietitian, whoever you utilize to help you on your weight loss journey, on your health journey. It's very important. Keep that in mind. And I think if you do those three things, you will see a change. But you have to do them consistently. It's nothing that, you keep, you do it one day and then you forget the next. You need to have consistency. So with that, I'd like to thank you guys for listening. If you have any questions or concerns, please comment in the comment section. Or you can also email us at the Shura Council, and we can get back to you. No problem. You can also email me as well. You can always go to www.genesismedcenter.com, genesismedcenter.com, and we can help you with these things. And it's very important to get on with this program so that you can see a new you and you can see a difference in your health. Thank you for attending, and we'll see you next week. Take care.